Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Module 6, our executive function number 5, which is self-monitoring. So today we are going to talk about what self-monitoring even is, because this might be an executive function that you haven't really heard much about, how it can go wrong, and how to cope when you experience executive dysfunction in this area. So self-monitoring, what is it exactly? It's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's monitoring yourself. It's being aware of the way that you move through the world and the way that your actions in the real world match up with the way you think about yourself in your internal world. So when this is going well, it looks like internal consistency. Healthy self-monitoring can look like being able to accurately track your progress toward a goal, being able to tell how close you're getting to that goal, how consistently you're moving toward the goal, how your actions are affecting your progress toward the goal, being able to judge all of that. It's also having a reliable sense of self that's consistent with both your actions and your internal world. So if you tend to struggle with identity issues, like me, there's a chance that you might have some executive dysfunction in the self-monitoring department, but we will get to that in just a moment. Healthy self-monitoring also looks like being able to accurately perceive time passing. This is a really big one. Time blindness is a big issue that we will get into here in a moment. So, what are some signs that your self-monitoring is off? So, the first sign is inconsistent internal identity. So this is difficulty understanding yourself and seeing how your actions line up with your internal world. So self-monitoring is basically watching the way that you move through the world and then telling yourself a story about it, a story that makes logical, continual sense. If you struggle to tell that continuous story, if it seems like you're one character one day, one character the next, and you're not totally sure how these characters go together to be one person, then you may struggle with self-monitoring. Another big sign of self-monitoring issues is time blindness, like I mentioned before. So this is struggling to accurately perceive the passage of time. So it's a lot like being colorblind, but with time rather than color. So if you struggle with time blindness, it is basically this idea that time either moves way too fast or way too slow, or just generally passes in a way that feels wrong. Or it might not feel wrong so much as you simply do not notice it. It is simply not part of something that you perceive. It's almost like time isn't part of your reality, even though it obviously is. We are all affected by time. And this can cause lots of issues like excessive lateness or excessive earliness or forgetting to eat because you get so swept up in something that you forget how much time has gone by. So there's a bit of a catch-22 when it comes to identifying issues with self-monitoring. It's often difficult to tell if you struggle with self-monitoring because you need self-monitoring in order to reflect on whether or not you're good at it, right? You have to be able to monitor yourself to detect whether or not you're good at self-monitoring. And so if you are not sure, if all of this sounds like gobbledygook and you are just not totally sure you understand the concept of self-monitoring, then that is a good sign you might struggle with it. If you relate to everything that you hear, everything sounds exactly like you, every personality type, every disorder sounds exactly like you may have a hard time monitoring what you're actually like. And instead you are being influenced by the things you are hearing and listening to and reading. Vice versa is also true. If you never relate to anything because you're just never sure if it's a good fit, you're just never sure if something sounds like you or not, that's also a sign that you might be struggling with self-monitoring. So how do we cope with this incredibly complex topic? How do we cope with something that we can't always even necessarily detect as a problem? Well, the first number one way that I recommend coping is finding a form of self-reflection that works for you. And the emphasis here is for you. Everyone reflects on themselves differently. It might be journaling. It might be walking meditation. It might be resting meditation. It could be EFT tapping, which is emotional freedom technique tapping, which is where you tap really specific parts of the body as you talk yourself through a difficult emotion. there are lots of different forms of self-reflection, and any one of them could be the right fit for you. So I think it's a good opportunity to try some of those things out and see which one makes you feel like you're getting a more accurate sense of who you are. The second way you can cope with this is tracking your progress toward a goal with some sort of visual system instead of trying to hold it all inside your head. So we've talked a lot about internal consistency and sense of self, but remember that issues with self-monitoring can also extend to issues with noting your progress toward a goal. So if you're struggling to hold that in your head and visualize how your progress is going, then try visualizing it in the real world with real physical stuff like sticky notes or a whiteboard, or visual timers can be really helpful if you're trying to judge how long you're doing something. So visual timers are great for time blindness. So yeah, these are two really great ways that you can cope if you experience executive dysfunction when it comes to self-monitoring. So the homework for this week is to fill out the week 6 worksheet, which is available in the Thinkific portal. And thank you so much. Bye.